The fluorescent lights in the classroom buzzed, a dull, restless hum that did little to ease attention. 11-year-old Jamal sat at his desk, his worn-out sneakers scuffed at the toes, his oversized hoodie sagging around his small frame. He was quiet, not because he had nothing to say, but because he had long learned that his words rarely reached Mrs. Gable. She was a stern, middle-aged teacher with a tight bun and a reputation for crushing the spirit of her students. Today's subject was history, and the class was discussing ancient civilizations. Jamal, who spent his free time devouring library books and building intricate Lego worlds, knew the topic by heart. His hand shot up. Mrs. Gable noticed. Her gaze lingered, then drifted past him, landing on a blonde girl in the front row. "Yes, Ashley?" she asked, her voice warm and encouraging. Jamal's hand dropped. This was routine. He raised his hand, full of answers, and she called on someone else. But today, frustration boiled beneath the surface. He had poured hours into his project, a hand-drawn map of the Nile River, and she hadn't so much as glanced at it. Later, during a surprise quiz, Jamal was asked a question he knew cold. He spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's about the trade routes, Mrs. Gable." She sighed, loud and dramatic. "Jamal, please, don't guess. If you don't know the answer, just say so. Let's not waste everyone's time." Her words stung like a slap, dismissive, humiliating. A few students snickered. Jamal's cheeks burned hot. After class, he approached her desk, his heart pounding. "I knew the answer, Mrs. Gable. I studied hard for this." She didn't even glance up from her grading. "Talent will only get you so far. Jamal, what really matters is discipline and focus. That's what I'm trying to teach you. Now run along." Her words dripped with subtle poison. He wasn't smart enough. He wasn't good enough. Jamal left the classroom, her sentence looping in his mind like a curse. Talent will only get you so far. The words didn't break him. They lit a quiet fire. Years passed, and Mrs. Gable's phrase became the engine driving Jamal forward. With every perfect grade, every science award, every scholarship he won, he heard her voice. He became exceptional not just out of ambition, but out of necessity, the need to prove her wrong. Talent, to him, was no gift to be squandered. It was a privilege to be sharpened with discipline and focus, the very weapon she once used to belittle him. At 18, he entered college on a full scholarship to study computer science. While his classmates partied, Jamal spent his nights in libraries, coding and developing ideas. One idea consumed him: an interactive learning platform powered by AI, designed to personalize content for each student. It was what he had longed for back in 5th grade, when he felt invisible in Mrs. Gable's classroom. He dreamed of a world where no student would be left behind, where talent wasn't measured by quick answers, but by curiosity and effort. He refined his algorithm for years. The startup began in a cramped dorm room, fueled by cold pizza and bad coffee. Friends joined his mission, and together they worked around the clock. He named the company Nexus Innovations, a reflection of his belief that technology could be the bridge between talent and potential. By 30, Nexus Innovations was a triumph. Millions of users, billions in valuation, and Jamal at its helm. He became a respected CEO, admired for his relentless work ethic and his crusade for educational equity. He spoke at conferences, appeared on magazine covers, and built platforms that changed lives. Yet through it all, he never forgot the sting of Mrs. Gable's voice. It fueled him still, not with bitterness, but with purpose. The office was a monument to success. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a sprawling city, and a glass-walled conference room buzzed with the energy of brilliant minds. This was Nexus Innovations, and at its command, Jamal Jackson, CEO. He sat in his office, reviewing designs for a new learning platform, a passion project to make education not just accessible, but inspiring for every student, no matter their background. He believed every mind carried a spark. A teacher's job was to ignite it, not extinguish it. His assistant entered. "Mr. Jackson, your 3 o'clock is here." The new chief of operations. "Send her in," Jamal said, eyes still on the screen. A woman stepped in, her heels muted against the polished concrete. Older now, hair pinned in a severe bun, her tailored suit as rigid as her posture. She cleared her throat. "Hello, Mr. Jackson. It's a pleasure to be here." Jamal finally looked up. Their eyes met, and recognition crept across his face like a slow, deliberate tide. The woman's confident smile faltered. Her stance wavered. It was Mrs. Gable, the very woman who had told him that talent would only take him so far. Now she stood in his office, hat in hand, seeking a job, one that would place her directly beneath his command. A cold, ironic smile curved Jamal's lips. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, but this time their hum sang a song of victory. She didn't recognize him. Not yet, but he remembered everything, and he was about to teach her the lesson of a lifetime. Mrs. Gable, now calling herself Mrs. Williams, regained her composure, but Jamal caught the flicker of fear in her eyes. What struck him most was that she didn't remember him. To her, he had been just another forgettable student, a blur in her long career. But to him, she had been a destructive force, a wall he had turned into a stepping stone. Jamal rose, straightened his blazer, and extended a hand. "Mrs. Williams, please have a seat." She sat stiffly, her smile brittle. Jamal mirrored it. He'd picked up her resume, the kind of paper he once carried in a fifth-grade folder, now stamped with decades of experience. He flipped through it slowly, savoring the moment. "Your resume is impressive, Mrs. Williams," he said evenly. "A long, successful career in education, I see." "Yes," she said, her voice weaker now. "I began as an elementary school teacher. I've always taken pride in shaping young minds." Jamal paused. "And what would you say are the most important qualities in an educator?" Her shoulders loosened as she slipped back into familiar territory. "Discipline and focus, of course. Students must understand that talent only takes them so far. Hard work is what separates them from the rest." A shiver ran down Jamal's spine. The irony was thick enough to touch. He locked eyes with her. "And what of talent, Mrs. Williams? Should it be stifled?" She faltered. "No, of course not. But it must be directed. Some students, they need to be put in their place, so they don't think too highly of themselves." Jamal's heart pounded. He remembered that day in fifth grade. Her words seared into his mind. He closed the resume and placed it neatly on the desk. At last, the smirk he had held back for decades surfaced. "You're right, Mrs. Williams. Talent only takes you so far. Discipline and focus are what truly matter." He leaned forward, his voice low, deliberate, but above all humility, and the ability to recognize potential in every student, no matter how different they look or how invisible they might seem. Her face drained of color. I don't understand." "Don't you?" Jamal said. "Do you recall a student named Jamal Jackson, Mrs. Williams? A boy from a family with no pedigree? A kid in an oversized hoodie and worn-out sneakers?" Recognition struck her like lightning. She gasped, her eyes widening in shock. Horror washed over her features as the memory resurfaced. The arrogance, the dismissiveness, the disdain she had once directed at him. She tried to speak, but no words came. Jamal stood, signaling the end. "Thank you for your time, Mrs. Williams. But I don't believe you're the right fit for this role. We're looking for someone who shares our mission, someone who believes every child's potential is limitless, and that every spark of talent deserves to be nurtured." She pushed to her feet, desperate to salvage the moment, but he silenced her with a raised hand. "You once told me talent would only take me so far. Maybe you were right, but discipline and humility carried me here. And you, Mrs. Williams, you've shown neither." He walked the door and opened it, the gesture final. Mrs. Gable, defeated, humiliated, rose and left, her footsteps hollow against the silence. The door closed. Jamal stood still, the old anger finally dissolving into peace. The boy in Mrs. Gable's classroom was free at last. He had nothing left to prove. He already